When we talk about attraction, most people rush straight to the superficial, looks, status, money. But if you strip all of that away, what truly draws a woman in on a deep psychological level is a man who is grounded in his identity, a man who knows exactly who he is, what he stands for, and what he will and will not tolerate. That level of clarity and emotional self-possession is rare, and that's precisely why it's irresistible. Being grounded doesn't mean being perfect. It means being stable. It means having a solid sense of self that doesn't get easily swayed by external validation or rejection. You're not desperate for her approval. You're not molding yourself into what you think she wants. And you're definitely not overcompensating by showcasing what you think might impress her. Instead, you're centered. You've done the work to know yourself, your values, your strengths, your flaws, and you own all of it without shame. A grounded man moves through the world with a quiet kind of confidence. Not arrogance, not showmanship, but a steady energy that says, I'm okay with or without you, but I welcome connection from a place of fullness, not need. That kind of energy is magnetic because women intuitively feel safe around it. It doesn't drain them. It doesn't beg or chase. It simply is. You see, when a man is grounded in his identity, he doesn't get thrown off by rejection, mixed signals, or emotional games. He doesn't take things personally. He observes, he discerns, and he responds with intention instead of reacting out of fear. That's emotional maturity, and it's the foundation of all lasting attraction. From a psychological standpoint, women are constantly assessing a man's internal stability, not consciously, maybe, but on a subconscious level. They're reading your tone, your posture, the way you hold space, and how you handle challenges. If you collapse under pressure, constantly seek approval, or lack a clear sense of direction, she will feel that instability and naturally pull away. On the other hand, if your presence calms the chaos and holds space for both her emotion and your own clarity, she'll lean in. But here's the hard truth most men avoid. You can't fake groundedness. You can't pretend to be confident or self-awareness. You have to become it. That means putting in the internal work. That means spending time with yourself. That means having honest conversations with your own reflection. Confronting your insecurities instead of burying them under distractions. So if you want her to want you instantly and genuinely, don't start with what you can do for her. Start with who you are without her. That's where real attraction begins. Be the man who doesn't chase approval. Be the man who carries presence, because once you're rooted in who you are, the right woman won't need convincing. She'll simply recognize your value and respond. One of the most overlooked yet powerful triggers of desire in a woman is emotional presence, your ability to be fully, genuinely there in the moment with her. And I'm not just talking about being physically present or making eye contact while scrolling your phone. I'm talking about the kind of presence that makes a woman feel seen, heard, and felt. That kind of presence is rare, and when you master it, it makes you unforgettable. Let's be honest, most men live in their heads. They're preoccupied thinking about what to say next, how to impress, or replaying past mistakes. And in doing so, they completely miss the actual moment that's unfolding right in front of them. Women can sense that. They feel when your energy is scattered, when your attention is split, or when you're just going through the motions of connection without actually being connected. Emotional presence is not about saying the perfect words. It's about your energy, your stillness, your listening. When a woman speaks, and you're not just hearing her, but actually feeling the weight behind her words, she feels that. She may not verbalize it, but internally something softens, something opens. Because in a world full of distractions and shallow interactions, your undivided presence tells her, you matter. Psychologically, women are deeply attuned to emotional availability. Not just vulnerability, but availability. The willingness to hold space for someone else without needing to dominate the moment, fix the situation, or prove your worth. It's incredibly attractive because it signals maturity, empathy, and self-regulation. It shows you're not afraid of emotion, hers or your own. Philosophically speaking, presence is a form of power, not the aggressive kind, not the kind that tries to control outcomes or impress others, but the quiet power of full attention. In a society where people are constantly rushing, multitasking, and chasing stimulation, your ability to slow down and engage with intention becomes an act of high value. You become a rare find. And here's the key. You don't need money, status, or flashy lines to be present. You just need to care. Not perform, not posture, just care enough to show up fully. When you do, you communicate through your energy that she is worthy of that attention and that you are emotionally grounded enough to offer it. And that changes the game. So if you want her to crave your presence, not just tolerate it, not just enjoy it, but crave it, then give her the one thing most men won't, your undivided awareness. Make her feel like, in that moment, nothing else exists. Not because you're trying to win her over, but because you understand the value of being here, now. A woman never forgets how a man made her feel. Be the man whose presence speaks louder than words, because in the silence of your attention, she will find everything she was searching for. One of the fastest ways to become magnetic to a woman without spending a single dime is to develop unapologetic self-respect. Not arrogance, not fake confidence, but a deep, immovable sense of self that doesn't bend for validation or dilute itself to be accepted. You see, when a man respects himself, it radiates in everything he does. How he talks, how he walks, how he responds to conflict, and, most importantly, how he allows others to treat him. This kind of self-respect isn't loud. It doesn't need to dominate a room or wear a mask of bravado. It's quiet, steady, and rooted. And women pick up on that instinctively. They're not just observing what you say to them, they're observing how you treat yourself. They're watching how you respond to rejection, how you handle disrespect, how you carry yourself when no one's applauding you. A man who lacks self-respect will often overextend himself, texting too much, over-apologizing, tolerating disrespect, trying to be everything to everyone just to stay in someone's good graces. And let me be honest, that energy repels. Not because the man isn't good or kind or well-meaning, but because it signals desperation. It shows he values her approval more than his own boundaries. And when you don't value your boundaries, you send the message that your attention is cheap. And no woman craves what feels readily available and easily manipulated. Now contrast that with a man who knows his worth. A man who can walk away from a situation that doesn't align with his values. A man who doesn't argue to be understood, but calmly exits when he senses his peace is being disrupted. That kind of man becomes deeply attractive, not because he's playing games, but because he's playing by principles. Philosophically, self-respect is the foundation of self-love, and self-love is the root of authentic connection. You can't love someone fully if you're operating from a place of emptiness, and you can't expect someone to value you if you keep undervaluing yourself. So respect is more than posture. It's a practice. It's what you say no to, what you tolerate, what you prioritize, and how consistently you honor the standards you set for your life. Emotionally, women crave a man who feels solid, not perfect, but solid. A man whose sense of self doesn't collapse the moment he's challenged or ignored. A man who doesn't need to be begged to stop chasing validation because he never needed it in the first place. That's the man who draws her in, not by force, not by manipulation, but by presence and principle. Here's the truth. When you raise your standards for how you treat yourself, others will either rise to meet them or fall away. And either way, you win. Because self-respect isn't just attractive, it's non-negotiable. Be the man who sets the tone, not the one who waits to be chosen. Another powerful thing a man can do, something that makes a woman take notice instantly, is to listen with full presence. Now, I'm not just talking about hearing words. I'm talking about the kind of listening that makes a woman feel seen, felt, and understood, not just as a body or a face or a concept of feminine energy, but as a complete, complex human being. We live in a world where most people listen just long enough to respond. They don't absorb, they don't reflect, and they certainly don't listen to understand. And this is where most men unknowingly miss a profound opportunity. Because when you listen deeply, with curiosity and presence, you separate yourself from the crowd of men who only see conversations as a path to an outcome. When a woman speaks and you lean in, not just physically but energetically, you're sending a message far more powerful than flirtation or flashy words. You're saying, I value your inner world. And make no mistake, that's rare. Women are used to being talked at. They're used to being interrupted, talked over, or listened to with one foot out the emotional door. So when a man slows down, makes space, and gives his attention without agenda, it disrupts her expectations, and that disruption is deeply attractive. Listening, when done right, is an act of strength. It requires you to quiet your ego, suspend your judgments, and enter someone else's reality without needing to fix, defend, or impress. And ironically, in doing so, you do impress, on a level that bypasses surface attraction and goes straight to emotional connection. Think about it. Most people, men and women alike, walk around with emotional armor. They filter what they say because they expect not to be understood. But when someone gives them the gift of real presence, those walls start to fall. And when you're the person who creates that space, you're no longer just another man in the room. You become the man she feels safe with. That's what opens the door to attraction, not noise, not flash, but connection. Psychologically, this taps into our core human desire to be understood, and that need doesn't go away because someone is beautiful or independent or successful. In fact, sometimes the more put together someone appears on the outside, the more starved they are for genuine connection on the inside. Listening isn't about silence, it's about attunement. It's about being able to mirror her thoughts, validate her emotions, and make her feel like in that moment she matters. Not for what she looks like, but for who she is. So, if you want to do something that makes a woman crave you, not just physically, but emotionally, practice the art of presence. Not fake nods or rehearsed lines, but real, grounded listening. Because when you become the man who listens to her soul, you'll never have to chase her body. Another quality that makes a woman want you instantly, without needing to flash wealth or status, is when you embody self-direction. That's right, a man with a clear sense of purpose and internal compass commands attention in a room full of noise, because purpose is magnetic. It draws people in, not through force, but through clarity and groundedness. And women are deeply attuned to this. Let's be honest, most people, men included, are drifting. They wake up reacting to life rather than responding with intention. They move from distraction to distraction, scrolling, chasing validation, checking boxes someone else gave them. But when a woman encounters a man who isn't swayed by every trend, every opinion, every emotional tug, she notices. He stands out because he's not reaching outward for meaning. He's anchored inward. Purpose isn't just about your job or career. It's about how you move through life. It's how you treat people, how you talk about your goals, how you handle challenges. A man who is self-directed exudes calm because he knows what he's building. He's not flustered by rejection, not rattled by uncertainty, because his worth doesn't come from who's watching. It comes from who he's becoming. That kind of energy is rare, and it's incredibly attractive, not because it screams, but because it doesn't need to. Think about the men who women talk about with admiration. It's not always the richest, the loudest, or the most physically striking. Often it's the man who moves with quiet certainty. He may not say much, but when he does, it's clear he means it. He has standards, not just for women, but for himself. And that makes him trustworthy. It makes him someone a woman can respect and be drawn to, not just emotionally, but instinctively. Philosophically speaking, we're all looking for direction. When a man becomes that direction for himself, he becomes a source of inspiration for others. He doesn't need to convince anyone of his value. It radiates naturally. And here's the truth most men overlook. A woman is more likely to choose the man who is deeply committed to his own growth than the one who's trying to win her approval. Why? Because self-direction isn't selfish. It actually creates stability. It communicates to a woman that if she were to walk beside you, she wouldn't have to drag you or lead you. You'd be moving with purpose, and she could choose to join you in that movement. That's incredibly freeing for a woman. It allows her to relax into her own femininity, knowing the man in front of her is not looking to be saved, completed, or coddled. He's already on his path. So if you want to do something that makes her want you instantly, don't just chase her, chase your own becoming. Because the man who leads himself well doesn't need to be loud. His direction speaks louder than words ever could. Another thing that makes a woman want you instantly, and this costs nothing, is your ability to master presence. Real, grounded, intentional presence. See, in a world constantly screaming for attention, the rarest kind of man is the one who actually pays attention. And I'm not talking about surface level attention, like nodding while scrolling your phone. I mean deep, locked in, soul level attention. The kind that makes someone feel seen, not just observed. Presence is about where your energy is. When you're with a woman, are you truly with her, or are you thinking about what to say next, how to impress her, or whether she likes you? Because here's the paradox. When you stop trying to impress and start truly connecting, that's when you become impressive. Women pick up on this instantly. She knows when you're not really there, and she knows when you are. That's when her guard softens. That's when attraction builds, not from performance, but from presence. The truth is, presence is a sign of internal security. When you can sit with silence, when you can hold space for someone without needing to control the moment, it shows emotional maturity. It says, I'm not in a rush to get somewhere else. I'm not here to perform, I'm here to experience. And that kind of presence, it's unforgettable. It lingers. It makes her replay the conversation in her mind hours after it ends. And presence isn't just about listening, it's about being. It's about eye contact that doesn't waver, a tone that doesn't rush, and a body language that doesn't fidget or shrink. You're saying, without words, I'm not hiding, I'm not chasing, I'm here, with you. That steadiness creates emotional safety. And when a woman feels emotionally safe, she lets herself feel emotionally open. Now here's where most men go wrong. They mistake presence for passivity. They think being calm means being quiet and agreeable. No, true presence has weight to it. It's calm, yes, but it's also powerful because it's rooted in self-trust. When a woman senses that your presence isn't performative but principled, she sees you as a man who knows himself, and that makes her want to know you more.